Hello, everyone. My name is Isabella Torre, and I am going to be talking about object-oriented programming in Java. So, including this PowerPoint, I also made a separate program that has everything that should be included in an object-oriented program. So you'll see little snips of code throughout throughout all these sites. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So, what is object-oriented programming? Well, usually computer programmers define the data type of data structure and also the types of operations, such as functions that can be applied to the data structure. And that data structure then becomes an object that includes both data and functions. Then we can also create relationships between one object and another. So you'll be seeing this throughout the code and throughout the PowerPoint. And some of the concepts that you will be seeing are polymorphism, abstraction, class, object, encapsulation, inheritance. These are very important, and you will be seeing them throughout my code and throughout the PowerPoint. I will go through almost all of them. So then next, let's talk about classes. So classes is a template for creating objects or a category of objects. So one example would be to have a class called shape. That contains circles, rectangles, and triangles. Another example would be the one on this slide. So an animal class. So an animal class, it will have a dog class, a cat class, a cow class. It could have maybe a bird, any other kind of animal. So let me show you the example I did for my code. So I did this in Eclipse. So my example, so my program is based on a university. So it has a person class. This is the super class, the parent class. And then we have the children class, which will consist of the student and the employee. As you can see here, the student right here says the public class student extends person. So that's a child class of person. And then the employee extends person. That's another child class of person. So let's get on to objects and member fields. So objects is an item that can be individually selected and manipulated. And one example would be making a variable that is created from the class that you created. Each object also has its own states and behavior. So let me show you the object example on my program. Let's go. Okay, let's go into university. So for example, here we made a new student object for person S1. So S student 1. So right here we have a student, and this consists of their full name, their ID, their status. So if they're like a freshman, junior, sophomore, senior. And then we have their email, and we have the grades for this semester, and then the credit hours. And then that student, this also makes a new student object. Then we can make a new faculty object, and that just contains the name, the email, the ID, and their title. It could be lecturer or assistant professor, just like right here, this faculty, which his name is Keith Green. He's an assistant professor. And also we can make a new staff. And I want to also include that the faculty and the staff are child classes of the employee class. So yeah, I want to also, why don't we try to make a new object? So first, let's do it in the bottom. So why don't we, okay, let's do student object. So student, let's name the variable student S3. We already have 2 students, so S3, then new student. Okay, so then let's name our student. We can name that student, let's see, Jessica Mendez. And then let's give them a ID. Let's give them, okay, what is their status? Let's put that they're a junior. So she's a junior. And let's create an email for her. So jessica.mendez@utrgv.edu. All right, now let's make up some grades. Let's do 4 grades. Let's see, 85, 94, 92, another one, let's see, 85. And then, so I made this program assuming that each student will be taking 4 classes and each class will be 3 hours. So that means it'll have each student should have 12 credit hours. So there you go. So we made a new student object, and that's the same for, that would be the same for faculty and staff. Just make sure like that you're not adding like the grades or another, like for example, student, you put junior, senior, freshman, and like in faculty you would put assistant professor, lecturer, or just professor. And on staff, maybe you would put like here an assistant, secretary, anything else. So yes, and then, okay, now let's go on to the slide. Let's go on to methods. So after creating an object, you would want that object to do something. So this is where methods come in. So a method defines the behavior of the object that is created from the class. So some people may confuse a method with a function, but a function is really independent and it's not associated with a class. So you can use it, and a function, you can use it anywhere in your code, unlike a method. So when creating an object, the method will only be part of that object. So right here in this slide, we have an example. So we have the class car, and the class car has these methods. We have refuel, get fuel, set speed, get speed, and drive. So only this class has those methods. No other class has those methods unless they are inheriting. Then they can't, if they're not inheriting, then they can't be, they're not able to use those methods. So let's go, let's look at my example in my program. So let's go into student. So we can, as you can see, we have the get GPA method for students, and only student has this. This calculates the GPA according to the 4 grades that we input. And then we also have the display info, which is different for each person. So for student, it's different. For the student, it will print out the name, the ID, the email, the status, and also the GPA. So let's go into the faculty. Now in the faculty, we only have display info and also on staff as well. So faculty, we have display info, but this only displays employee, ID, email, and title. And on the staff, we also have only display info. So it's staff, title, ID, and email. So you kind of can see that they're kind of different compared to the student and to the faculty and the staff. They have like the same name. They have the same method name, just like InfoBit. They do different things. Okay, so let's go on to constructors. So every class must have a constructor. So one of the rules of constructors is that a constructor must have the same name as the class. So the whole purpose of the constructor also is to initialize the object of a class. So right here in this slide, we have an example of a constructor. So right here, we have our person class. I got this from my code from my program that I just showed you a few seconds ago. So you can see we have the person class name and the constructor name are the same. So that must be the same. They cannot be different. That is one of the important rules of having a constructor, and each class should have a constructor. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. So let's talk about inheritance. So inheritance is a mechanism in Java by which one class is allowed to inherit the features of another class. So as you can see this example right here, we have our vehicle class and it's inherit and we have our car and truck, and car and truck is inheriting from vehicle. So the class whose features are inherited is known as superclass or a parent class. So in this example, the vehicle would be the superclass. And and then the other classes are the subclass. So that class inherits the other class. That class can add, and that class, the subclass can add its own fields and methods in addition to the superclass fields and methods. So it doesn't just have to use the vehicle methods and the fields. It also has its own. So it can use from vehicle class or its own methods. So let's go look at my example in my program. So my superclass, I think I already mentioned it, but I'm going to repeat it again. My superclass would be the person class. And then my subclass, which is our child class, would be our student and our employee. And then the faculty and the staff will be the child class of employee. So yeah, so that is inheriting. They are inheriting from the superclass. Okay, so let's go to overloading. So overloading occurs within the same class. So inheritance is not involved. Parameters have to be different, and return types might and might not be the same. So you might have two functions and two methods, I mean, not functions, they're different. So two methods, and they might have the same class, but they have different parameters and they might return a different type. So one might return an integer and one might return a double. So that's overloading. Now let's go into overriding. So when overriding, it occurs between two classes. It could be between a superclass and a subclass. And inheritance is involved, unlike overloading. And parameters must be the same and return type must be the same. So overriding would be like we have the same method, but we have the method in a superclass and we have the method in a subclass. So that would be overriding. Okay, let's go into polymorphism. So polymorphism is a reference variable that can reference objects of classes that are derived from the variable class. Like for example, let's go to my code. well, no, not, well, it's already here on my side, so I don't have to know. Okay, so for example, right here, we have the person, this is the reference variable, we have person, but we're making a student object. So this reference variable doesn't have to be a student reference variable. It can be a person reference variable. And that goes the same to the other classes. So let me go to my code. So like, let's go to university. So like right here, like the faculty, just like how I said with the student, the reference variable doesn't have to be faculty. It could also be person, and it should be able to work. And also it goes the same with the staff. The staff doesn't have, I mean, the reference variable here doesn't have to be staff. Data, it doesn't have to be staff. It could be also person. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. So let's talk about abstract classes and methods. So in an abstract class, it can, never mind. I mean, abstract classes, it can't be instantiated by other classes that are derived from it. It serves as a superclass for other classes, and it represents generic or abstract form of all the classes that are derived from it. So a way to make a class abstract is by placing the abstract word in the class definition, just like I did right here. I got what I did right now. This were actually for abstract method, the one I have then on my side. So let me talk about abstract methods before explaining that part. Okay, so an abstract method has no body. It usually appears in a superclass, but expects to be overridden in a subclass. So it has no header, again, no body. Are used to ensure that a subclass implements the method. So an example would be this one that I have in this side. This is a public abstract double get GPA. To make it abstract, you would have to put abstract in front of get GPA. Okay, let's go into interface. So an interface is a boundary across which two independent systems meet and act or communicate with each other. So the whole purpose of an interface is to specify behavior for other classes. So in my program, I have the public interface GPA. So, and right here we have the abstract double get GPA. Okay, so now let's go into encapsulation. So encapsulation is wrapping up data under a single unit. It binds together code and the data it manipulates. So this can be done by declaring all the variables in the class as private and writing public methods in the class to set and get the values of variables. So if we go into my program, in some other programs, some of these you aren't able to like, some other members are not able to see because they are public or private, and that will like encapsulate all the methods, variables, and the class. All right, so let me keep talking about my code right here. Let me try to run it just so you guys can see what the final outcome looks like. Okay, so let me just, all right, there you go. Okay, just want you guys to really look at it. So as you can see right here, we have our student, John Brown. It has his ID, email, his status as a freshman. He has a GPA of 3.5, and that's the same with Kathy Jimenez. Also her ID, email, status, her GPA. Then we have our employee, Sam Garza. Also the same ID, email, title, and he's at lecture. And then we have our employee, Keith Green. He's assistant professor. He also has the ID, email, title, the same as Sam Garza. This is the, yeah, this is the, I think the faculty. Yeah, the faculty. And then we have our staff, which is our Riley Guzman, which is your HR assistant, and Lucy Jones is our secretary. And they have the same thing as employee. They have the title, the ID, and the email. So let me go ahead and show you the rest of the code. So let's go into person. So this is our person code. As you can see, we have members like a name, address, email, ID, which every class should have. Like student has the name, the ID, the status, and the email. And then we have our get GPA right here, and this calculates the GPA for just a semester. And it calculates by the letter grade. So if you have like a 94, then the GPA for that class would be a 4.0, and so on. And then from there, they would just multiply each GPA by 3, and then it would divide by the amount of credit hours, and then it would return the total GPA of this student. And then the display info, it would print out the student name, the ID, the email, the status, and the GPA. Now let's go into also the student expense person. Just like how I mentioned, this is a child class, a person, which is a parent class. So let's go into employee, which is also the child class of person. As you can see, it extends person. So this employee has a name, the employee ID, email, and as you can see here also, it's inheriting the name and email and the employee ID from super class, which is a person. And then we have the display info, which we have the employee, the ID, and the email. And for the faculty, the same. We have name, email, employee ID, status, and the display info just prints out the name, the ID, the email, and the title. Okay, so let's go into staff. So for the staff, it's almost the same thing as faculty. No, it is the same thing. It has the name, the email, the employee ID, and the title. So it's very, very similar. So it just the display info, it has the staff, the title, the ID, and the email. So let's go into our interface, which is our GPA. So this, we have the get GPA in our interface GPA. So then, okay, let's go into our university. Okay, so alrighty. Okay, so why don't let's try making a new object, just like how I showed you guys, and then we can print it out so you guys can see the result. Okay, so let me just copy and paste all the stars just so it can look very organized. Alrighty. Okay, let's see what should we make. I think making a faculty, because we already did a student a while ago. So let's make a faculty person, a faculty object. So faculty, let's do F3 because the third faculty on here, and then new faculty, and then parentheses, and then let's see, what should we name it? Okay, let's name it Ryan Guzman. And then for their email, let's see, so make an email, ryan.guzman@utrgb.edu. Let's make an employee ID. So let's see. There you go. Now let's give Ryan a status or a position. So let's make him a professor. Yeah. There you go. So now we have Ryan Guzman, who's a faculty member, and we have his email, his ID, and his position. So then now we want to display his information. So we have the variable name of 3 dot and then display info and then just parentheses and then just our semicolon, and then let's copy and paste another set of stars under it just so it looks prettier and more organized. There you go. So now let's run it. Let's see what happens. All right, okay. Now let me try to maximize that so you guys can see it. So as you can see right here in the very end, we have Ryan Guzman. We have his ID. Whoa, okay, okay. I did a mistake right there. I'll fix it. Yeah, remember when you're doing objects, remember which one goes first. If email goes first, your ID, because if not, this will happen. So, okay, we have our email, it's in the wrong place, and the ID is in the wrong place too. And the title is in the right place, and he's a professor. So everything's looking great. Let's try to fix that. All right. That should be in front of the email. So there you go. That should be it. Let's run it again just to see the final outcome. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me maximize that so you guys can see better. There you go. We have Ryan Guzman, his ID for 5697212. Then his email, ryan.guzman@utrgb.edu, and his title, which is professor. So yeah, this is really easy, guys. To do, it's not that hard to understand. So yeah, we can keep going on and on, making more students and employees and staff. I just wanted to explain to you how you make a student or a employee. So yes, so hopefully you guys learned something out of this presentation and this program. So thank you all for listening and watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.